This is Friday Night Football on KLST, brought to you by Randall Motors.
Good evening and welcome into Friday Night Football Week 3 edition. I'm your host, Ryan Campo. We'll hear from Sabrina Hoover in just a little bit. We're almost a third of the way through the Texas high school football season. Non-district play continues on for teams. As for the Central Bobcats, they're hoping to use a big-time road victory last week. Back home tonight for homecoming before hitting the road for the next 2 weeks. The Bobcats hosting Abilene Cooper tonight, looking for a win on homecoming. First possession for the Cats. Javion Robinson rumbles his way through the defense into the end zone for 6, refusing to go down there. Central ties this one up. Defense wants in on the action. Abilene Cooper drops back to pass. Mason Van Sickle reads it like a book, picks the quarterback off, takes the ball down the sidelines before getting tackled by 2 Cougar players, setting up the Bobcats with excellent field position. Bobcats threatening to score from 5 yards out. It's J. Rob once again takes the handoff up the middle, walks his way into the end zone for the second score of the night. Final seconds before half, English fakes the pass, comes back to throw to the wide open touch to Tyree Brawley, coasting the end zone for another Bobcat score right before half. However, Central would go on to fall in yet another shootout, 53-45. Central heading to Belton next week. There we go. Words are tough sometimes. Speaking of tough, it was a tough home opener for the Pride of the North Side as the Lakeview Chiefs fell to Sweetwater, looking to get back above the 500 mark once again this season. Chiefs over in Vernon this evening. The 2 teams meeting for just the second time on the gridiron. The Lions come away victorious tonight, just like they did a year ago. Lakeview come back home next week to face Lubbock High over at San Angelo Stadium. One of the biggest games of the week happening over in Tuscola this Friday night, a top 10 showdown between 2 rivals looking for a statement victory early on this season. Number 4 in 3A Division 2 in Wall versus number 9 in 3A Division 1 in Jim Ned. Who will be 3-0 at the end of this one? First quarter, it's Jim Ned who takes the early 7-0 lead. Wall trying to convert on a first down as well. The Indians foil that attempt, however, taking over on downs. After the turnover, Indians, it's a sweep. Brooks Boyer, the man, he's going to get some running room down. He's going to eventually be taken down by a couple of Wall Hawks there before excellent field position. First half, all Jim Ned. Second half, Wall ties this one up at 14 and piece, but in overtime, it's the Indians who kick a field goal. They get a pick to win it, 17-14 over Wall. Also a team out of District 2, 3A Division 2, and the Brady Bulldogs looking for their first victory of the young season. Back home tonight facing the Blue Cats from Coleman, and for the 5th time in a row, it's Coleman who tops Brady tonight. The Bulldogs back home next week when they face Dublin. After a wild come-from-behind victory a week ago on the road against Odessa Compass, the TLCA San Angelo Eagles back on the road once again tonight over in Winners. TLCA won a season ago. This one's still going on as we speak. Last update we got for you, Winners leading TLCA San Angelo 35-28 in the 4th quarter. Team also looking for its first win of the season and also looking to snap their 12-game losing streak in the Grape Creek Eagles over in Bangs tonight. The Dragons come out victorious in this one. Grape Creek back home next week when they square off against Ozona. Back down to the 2A ranks we go. It was a nice bounce-back week for Cristobal Cougars a week ago, picking up a home win against those Grape Creek Eagles, looking for 2 in a row this evening. A battle of 2A D1 teams. Cristobal hosting the Wolves of Colorado City. Cristobal won 26-7 last year in their first ever meeting since 2017 and just 3rd overall tonight. Much closer in Coug Country. Our last update, the Wolves of Colorado City leading at 15-12 in the 4th. Cristobal back in action when they travel to Mason. Speaking of Mason, over in Ozona, former district opponents meeting tonight. The Lions hosting Mason tonight. Early first quarter, the Punchers strike first. Ball handed off to Ryan Todd. Todd with a nifty cutback goes outside. You ain't catching Mr. Todd. Mason leading at 7-0. Still in the first, Mason extends their lead. Matthew King with the handoff hits the B button. Like he's playing Madden out there. Crosses the goal line for 6, 14-0 Punchers. Early second now. Lions go to the air. Hudson Fowler to Matthew Daniels on the crossing route. Gets a block, gets outside. He's able to score. However, it's the Punchers who remain undefeated. A 35-20 road victory tonight over Ozona. Over in Junction this evening, fresh off a big-time road victory last week over in San Saba. The Eagles hosting the Cowboys from D'Hanis, meeting for just the 2nd time on the gridiron. D'Hanis won a year ago, but it's the Eagles of Junction looking pretty good right now for head coach Scott Freeman's ball club. Winners of 2 straight, 32-7 the final in D'Hanis tonight. The Eagles hosting Cross Plains next week in Week 4 of action. Coming up on Friday Night Football, 3 teams looking to move to 3-0 this season, 2 of which meeting in one of the longest rivalries in West Texas. And it just so happens to be our KLST game of the week. El Dorado hosting 10th-ranked Sonora. Stay with us. You're watching Friday Night Football on KLST. Welcome back to Friday Night Football, our KLST game of the week, one of the oldest rivalries in West Texas football. The first recorded meeting from way back in 1922. Our Sabrina Hoover has a preview of Sonora versus El Dorado.
I want to go 1-0 every week, and they're in the way of that, so we're going to win. We're going to beat them and show them what Broncos about. 2 undefeated teams, the Sonora Broncos and the El Dorado Eagles, engage in a highly anticipated showdown, keeping alive their friendly rivalry that has endured since 1922, with both coaches sharing a long history.
Friendly rivalry, you know, Coach Tuttle and me were here together back, you know, when I was here before and he was here, so our kids know each other, they're friends with each other. Until you step on the field Friday night, when you step in between the lines, it's a competition. Everybody wants to win. Fresh off their respective wins, the Broncos, who won 44-30 against Oklahoma, and the Eagles, who dominated winners with a 40-12 victory in Week 2, now face a significant test.
We've had, you know, 2 good ball games so far this year. We played well, done some really good things, and we've got a lot of stuff to still fix. And, you know, that's kind of one of the points of this week. And, you know, going up against a really good ball club, you know, really test where you're at. Playing fast, we're playing physical, so that's been really good to kind of, I guess, get back to some of the fundamentals has been really good for our offense.
This Friday night, the 2 teams will clash on Eagles territory, carrying on their rich legacy, and the athletes are well aware of the game's immense importance to all involved.
It's very important, not just for us, but for our whole community, you know, like everybody, even like the older people, you know, this has been their rivalry since they were in school, so, you know, it's kind of like legacy here.
Now that we're all like the same kids from when we were little and we're all playing Friday Night Lights, I guess we just have that bond together and we all have that mentality to win because the coaches believe it and we believe that we could go to state.
A battle of 2-0 teams this evening. El Dorado hosting 10th-ranked Sonora. First quarter, Juan Castillo to Edgar DeLuna. He'll just walk right into the end zone. Broncos now lead 6-0. Second quarter, Eagles strike back. Elazar Hernandez plow over a Bronco defender. Stay on his feet. He'll give the Eagles a 7-6 lead. But that only fired up the Broncos offense. Castillo fakes the handoff. He'll take it in himself for another Bronco touchdown to lead at 12-7. More from the Broncos. The big fella, Edgar DeLuna, bounces out to the outside. He'll roll into the end zone. It was a 7-point game at half. Sonora pulls away from El Dorado in that second half. 39-13 the final. That's where we find our Sabrina Hoover live with more from Larry Mitchell Stadium over in El Dorado.
Hey, Ryan, what an exciting game this one turned out to be. The Sonora Broncos would make the opening score, but just like we saw last week, a seesaw battle throughout. The Eagles managed to seize their first lead of the second quarter, but however, the Broncos would respond skillfully with our player of the week, Edgar DeLuna. He managed to regain the lead 20-13 heading into halftime. However, after halftime, the Broncos maintained momentum. They would capitalize off of several fumbles and turnovers that the Eagles would make. Final score here, 39-13. Sonora. Eagles suffer their first loss of the season. They will face San Saba next, while the Broncos will face Alpine. Reporting from Larry Mitchell Stadium, I'm Sabrina Hoover. Back to you, Ryan.
This live shot is sponsored by AFCO Steel.
It's been quite the start to the season for the Sterling City Eagles. A blow-on victory in Week 1. Last week, a thriller at home against Miles. An Eagle battle tonight in Sterling City. As they hosted TLCA Abilene tonight. First quarter, SC up 7-0. Ty Turner, the pitch outside, hitting Johnny Monreal in stride, gets a couple key blocks. He's in for 6. SC up 13-0. Followed TLCA turnover. Sterling City makes them pay. Canyon McCabe gets the pitch. He goes in untouched to add to the early lead. Second quarter, Sterling City goes to the air. A pretty ball here. Ty Turner, check out the play here by Johnny Monreal. Tips it to himself. Able to come down with it for the big gainer, which would set up this. A few plays later, it's only fitting. He caps off the drive by finding the end zone. Money Monreal in for 6. Sterling City rolls. They move to 4-0. 52-0 the final. A battle of 2 Concho Valley teams over in Water Valley. The Cats hosting Miles. Late first quarter of this one. Bulldogs backed up in their own end zone. Look at the Cats defense get there for the safety. 2-0 Water Valley. Points, folks. Second quarter now. Anthony Quintana pitches it out to David Valeriano. catches it behind his head, keeps the leg going, gets to the outside, runs a man over, and he's gone. He finds pay dirt. Anthony Quintana with one of the plays of the night. Wildcats extend their lead 10-0. But just a minute later, Haven Book scrambles to his right, unloads a deep ball to one of his favorite targets in Cooper Ellison. My man Coop able to get a foot in bounds. All they need is one in high school. Miles pulls out a thriller tonight over in Water Valley, 26-18 the final. Coming up on Friday Night Football, we shrink the field and head down to the six-man ranks as non-district play continues for Class 1A teams this evening, including an all-Concho Valley tilt between Very Best and Bront. Can the Falcons move to 3-0 on the season? Find out after the break.
You're watching Friday Night Football on KLST. Let's go,
Welcome back to Friday Night Football. Out of the 8 Concho Valley teams, 1 still undefeated in the six-man ranks, that being the Very Best Falcons, 2-0 for the first time since 2021. Very Best looking to go to 3-0. They hosted Bront tonight. The Longhorns scoring immediately. Jayton Galvin to Raymond Williams. Look at that catch right there. Bront up 8-0. Longhorns again, this time some run action. Galvin with the pitch to Cole Knight. He's hungry for that end zone breaking past Falcons into pay dirt. 16-0 Bront. First drive of the second quarter, quick toss out to Lane Howard. Finds a hole, running into the end zone with ease. Falcons on the board. It's 16-8. 4th and long for the Falcons. They'll go for it. Bryce Martin with the ball. He'll scramble in the backfield, looking for a man. No one is open, so why not? Take it yourself. Breaking tackles. He's run it in for a massive Falcon touchdown. Very Best goes on to win a thriller tonight. They are 3-0 rather. 48-42 over Bront to remain undefeated. Last week, the Erie County Hornets picked up a win number 1 on the season, pitching a shutout at home against Spur, looking to continue that momentum here in week 3. Hornets hitting the road tonight over in Roby, Texas, to pick up win number 2 on the season. As for the second straight year in a row, Erie County defeats the Lions. Erie County back home next week when they host the Hornets of Highland. Over in Beard tonight, following a tough loss last week at home, the Steers from Robert Lee took on the Bears. They get back in the win column 46-32. In Eden, a pair of teams looking for their first win of the 2023 season. It's the Tigers from Blanket who knock off Eden tonight. Dogs back in action at home against TLC Midland next week. One of our 2 games from a night ago, the Menard Yellow Jackets in action on the road at Lakey last night, taking on the Eagles for the first time since 2017. They pick up a victory as well, 34-22. More 6-man action from this evening. The Blackwell Hornets, a week after a dominant performance against Eden to move to 1-1, took on the Hornets from Highland tonight. Buzz, as these two have met every year since 2016. Highland with a big one tonight, 66-16. Blackwell in action next week when they travel to Robert Lee. Last night as well, Paint Rock Indians hitting the road for the first time this 2023 season, traveling over to Gustine to take on the Tigers for the first time since the 2017 season. Indians get to 2-1 on the season with a dominating win from start to finish in this one, 58-12. Paint Rock back on the road next week when they take on the Gorillas from Trent. All right, when we come back, we put a bow on week 3 of action with some headlines from the past 2 nights. Plus, we take our first look at some spotlight games for week 4 of the Texas high school football season. Stay with us. You're watching Friday Night Football on KLST. Before we take a look at some of our spotlight games for next week, we'll look back at some headlines from this week's slate of games around the Concho Valley. What a week 3 it was for the high school football teams across the Concho Valley. We have 4 teams that will go into next week still undefeated. Class 2A, Sonora Mason, Sterling City as well. All 3 of those look to be rolling throughout this season. Also, Very Best, who won a thriller tonight against Bront. A huge shout out to those 4 teams who have perfect record still. It was also a big week for a lot of teams around the area who lost last week that were able to come away with a victory tonight. Adjustments made by the coaches, the kids, the players. We love to see that as they look to ride that momentum going into week 4. All right, our quad box makes its return to give us a preview of some of the games we have our eyes on for week 4 of the Texas high school football season. Already flying by, that is for sure. Hopefully a cooler one, so thanks, Chris Boone. We kick things off, Class 6A, the Angry Orange hitting the road once again. They head over to the Waco area to face the Belton Tigers. The Bobcats defeated Belton last year in their first ever matchup at home. Lakeview Chiefs making their return to San Angelo Stadium after a big win after falling tonight to Vernon. as the Chiefs welcome the Westerners from Lubbock High, looking to snap their two-game losing streak. The Chiefs knocked off Lubbock 35-21 a year ago. Fourth-ranked Wallhawks return to the Concho Valley after 2 straight road games, looking to get back in the win column after a tough one tonight as they host Peaster for the first time ever over at Clayton Wysoon Field. Wall won 29-9 in their first ever meeting a year ago. And finally, our KLST game of the week, a 1A Division I versus 1A Division II showdown in Robert Lee as the Steers host Blackwell. Another awesome slate of games for us next week. All right, so that'll do it for week 3 of the Texas high school football season here in the Concho Valley. If you missed anything, go on over to our website, ConchoValleyHomepage.com. For Sabrina Hoover and everyone here at KLST, I'm Ryan Campo. Have a great weekend.
Catering for Friday Night Football is provided by Chick-fil-A. Friday Night Football on KLST, brought to you by Randall Motors. Closed captioning for the hearing impaired is sponsored by the Law Office of Rick DeHoyas.